Hello there. It's not only here in Germany where I'm sitting that the actions of climate protectionists, such as pouring soup on paintings or blocking motorways, cause very controversial debates and also some questionable actions by authorities, such as in Bavaria. The activists are also a topic of conversation in Great Britain, because British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak wants to take tougher action against radical protests by climate activists. Anyone who breaks the law should feel its full force, is what Sunak said after meeting with police officers on how to deal with road blockades and other illegal forms of protest. While the so-called last generation is causing a stir here, the group Just Stop Oil is currently attracting attention in Great Britain. The group is also responsible for the tomato soup on a painting by Vincent van Gogh in a London museum. It is completely unacceptable that the everyday life of ordinary citizens is disturbed by a selfish minority, said Sunak. The police have the full support in taking decisive action against such protests. Some of those involved in such actions have already been sentenced to prison terms. Sunak did not comment on the activists' demand not to issue licenses for new fossil projects. The British government recently granted new licenses for oil and gas fields in the North Sea, and according to climate researchers, this conflicts with the plan to become carbon neutral by 2050. But a week ago, people here in Germany saw how far these criminals will go, and that certainly wasn't the end. Just a few flicks of the wrist with a bolt cutter and they were in. Activists from the group The Last Generation broke into the grounds of the Berlin-Brandenburg Airport, the BER, last week's Thursday afternoon and paralyzed air traffic. And their self-declared goal is to draw attention to the climate crisis. The security authorities have also taken notice. The Brandenburg State Criminal Police Office, the LKA, says it is investigating 6 of the activists who were picked up at the airport, 5 men and 1 woman, aged between 20 and 32. A police spokesman named dangerous interference in air traffic, disruption of public services, trespassing and property damage as criminal offenses in the investigation. But what about the costs that passengers incurred as a result of the cancellations, such as an involuntary overnight stay in Berlin? Are passengers entitled to compensation, and will the bill end up with the climate activists? That would be the just thing and the right thing and the legal thing. A total of 20 flights were affected. 5 could not take off due to the action of the activists. 15 had to be diverted to alternative airports. Air traffic at the BER was completely suspended for around 90 minutes. During this time, the police took the activists into custody. The area was searched for other people, and the resulting holes in the fence were secured. Depending on the occupancy of the passenger planes, they must assume 3,000 to 4,000 people who were affected by the actions. And that is something really selfish and criminal. For the airlines, these figures could result in large amounts of compensation, theoretically. Potential compensatory payment is due for each passenger, depending on the distance. The average value for the processes they handle is €400 per passenger. And the damage for the airlines would therefore be around €1.6 million for 4,000 passengers. Do the airlines get the costs incurred, for example, for rebooking and overnight stays, back from those activists? Well, Eurowings, according to the airlines, 10 flights were affected on that day. They expressed reservations when they were asked. Affected passengers have been rebooked, and Eurowings also reserved the right to take legal action. That's what at least a spokeswoman said. The airport boss in Berlin, I think it was, considers unlikely that passengers or airlines could now take legal action against the climate activists in order to sue for the corresponding damages. The airport company, on the other hand, could still make claims for damages. Legal action against the activists is being examined. That's what their spokesman said. The property damage at the airport, such as damage to the fences, cannot be precisely quantified at this point in time, but they will do this. And so, to repeat it again, those activists acting like this are not demonstrators, they are criminals, and they have to be treated like this. There, I agree with Rishi Sunak and even the Bavarian interior minister. That's the way it is. You have the right for demonstration, but you don't have the right to do everything you want. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.